I worked as a flight attendant for 6 years, helping tens of thousands of passengers with their bags. And here's what I learned. Most carry-on luggage brands are a complete ripoff. They either use cheap materials that break or heavy materials that send your bag over the weight limit. They say their bag fits in any overhead bin until you're the guy holding up boarding at 7 a.m. on a Monday. Mous thinks they've finally solved it with their new hard shell carry-on suitcase. Personally, I'm not convinced yet, but I want to be. So I'm putting their bag through the exact tests I'd run as a flight attendant. And there's one in particular that eliminates 90% of carry-ons immediately before we even talk about durability. Believe it or not, a lot of bags, especially the kind of cheap knockoff brands on Amazon, are advertised as carry-ons despite not actually being the right size to fit on a plane. You basically wind up buying a small, full-sized bag that still always needs to be checked, which sucks. But when my Mous carry-on arrived, I was happy to see that it's actually slightly smaller than the carry-on bag I used for 6 years as a flight attendant. It's also way lighter. So I don't even need to take my tape measure out of the bathroom because just looking at it, I can tell it's gonna fit in any standard overhead bin. If anything, at first glance, I actually think it could be maybe even a little bit bigger. But we'll see how much it can actually fit later in the video, and I've got some pro-level packing tips for you to get like at least a month's worth of gear packed into any bag this size. But here's the thing most travelers don't realize. The dimensions of your bag don't actually matter all that much when it comes to getting your bag on the plane. Those bag sizers you see at the gate are mostly just there to passenger shame difficult customers who insist that the cheap oversized bag they bought on Temu will fit on board because Temu said so. A bag this size is gonna pass the sniff test and make it on the plane every time, no problem. But then you've gotta get it in the overhead bin. And this was my least favorite part of the whole job because passengers would constantly break the overhead bins trying to jam their bags inside, which delays the whole flight until a technician can come repair it. But the two biggest culprits of this were always either an oversized hard shell bag or an overstuffed soft shell bag, since those will expand as much as you let them. Now, Mous's carry-on is definitely not perfect, as I'll show you in just a bit, but the size and material isn't going to expand from overpacking it, so it definitely passes the bin test. But here's where things get really interesting, because even if your bag fits in the overhead bin, that doesn't mean it's going there. So one fun part of my job was watching full-grown men throw temper tantrums when there was no space left in the overhead bins, which happens more often than you might think because, well, most airfare includes a free carry-on, and if you do the math on how many spaces there are per seat, you realize that a full flight will always need to gate check some bags. And respectfully, if you're the last one aboard because you had to knock down another pint at the bar, that's kinda on you. But I get it. People are afraid that their bags will be damaged by being thrown around by the ramp agent. I've seen it happen a million times, including to myself. So after the handle on my last bag snapped off, I began my search to find an ultra durable, buy it for life carry-on bag that won't shatter when a tired gate agent throws it across the tarmac at 7 a.m. Because I no longer work for an airline, so I've got to buy my own bags and I want them to last. Eventually, I wound up asking Mous to send me their new carry-on bag early ahead of launch because I know how indestructible their phone cases are and they already have an insanely loyal customer base. With that said, this video is not sponsored, but I will drop an affiliate link down in the description to apply whatever the best current discount is, and using it may help support the channel at no extra cost to you. The main reason I wanted to try Mous Luggage in the first place was because of this Ultramatrix shell. So most carry-ons use polycarbonate for the shell, which isn't bad. Premium brands have been using it for years and it holds up reasonably well, but they really don't have any give, which means one hard tumble in the cargo hold and the whole thing can crack. So Mous's carry-on is made out of this material they call Ultramatrix, which is a woven polypropylene composite. And apparently the key difference is how it behaves under impact. So instead of being completely rigid and cracking or denting under force, the Ultramatrix is supposed to just kind of flex. It absorbs the pressure and then pops back out. Now, I haven't actually had a chance to bash mine up yet, but I am gonna put it to the test, and I've got a 37-day trip to Japan coming up. So I told Mous's team straight up, if their bag fails me and my bottles of sake break, they can expect a very disappointed follow-up review. So make sure you subscribe to be notified when that video drops. Or check the description for updates on how this bag holds up over time and what I ultimately recommend. But I will say, based on Mous's reputation for creating exceptionally durable phone cases that protect $1,200 plus smartphones, I am hoping that this bag lives up to the hype, especially with all their marketing showing how their bag survives being thrown out of planes and dragged behind trucks. But even if this Ultramatrix shell does turn out to be as good as Mous claims it is, as a flight attendant who spent 6 years watching bags fall apart at airports all over the world, I've got to point out that the shell isn't what usually breaks first on bags. It's almost always the wheels, the zipper, or the handle. I actually really liked my last bag, but eventually the handle did give out in the middle of a 2-week trip, which really sucked because now I've got to throw the whole bag out. The Mous carry-on has a 46-part aluminum telescopic handle, which honestly feels pretty smooth compared to more wobbly handles on cheaper bags. But what I really like is the fact that the handle, along with the wheels and the TSA lock, are all modular, which is a really rare feature for a bag to offer because most brands would rather you just buy a whole new bag. But these parts being modular means you can individually replace any of the components if they do break. Take a look at the wheels. If a wheel breaks or gets even just banged up and wonky over time, you can easily replace them yourself with a screwdriver. Same goes for the TSA lock, which is a nice feature to have for some extra security. And I think these modular parts could actually really dramatically increase the lifespan of the bag, because when something goes wrong, you just swap it out. I also like that Mous Luggage uses 4 wheels instead of just 2. And this is not just a comfort preference, because think about the overworked ramp agent transporting 200 bags at 5 a.m. 4 wheels means he pushes it and it glides across the ground, and 2 wheels means he throws it. And these wheels are actually Hinomoto wheels, which, in case you're not a bag nerd, are genuinely the gold standard for luggage. They're Japanese engineered with precision ball bearings, they move silently, and they're built to last. And not to play sides here, but I have noticed that other popular brands have kind of switched away quietly from Hinomoto to try and cut costs. So I'm happy Mous isn't cutting corners here. Mous is also using YKK Zippers, which is just another gold standard, just objectively. If you Google best zipper, it's gonna say YKK. You've probably used shitty zippers before, so I won't bore you with the technical details, but YKK is what you want to see to know the zipper isn't gonna get caught or stuck or just breaking on you. So based on everything we've seen so far, this does look like an extremely durable bag. Mous also offers a 25-year warranty, which is way more generous than the typical 1 to 3 year warranty that a lot of bag companies offer. And most of the fixes can probably be resolved without shipping the bag to Mous, just because of those modular components, which is really nice. And all this together honestly makes Mous feel almost like a buy it for life bag, which I love the idea of. But we still need to take a look inside this thing. So starting on the back of the bag, right below the handle, we've got a pocket for your water bottle and a pocket for your passport / boarding ticket. And honestly, the water bottle pocket is a little disappointing to me because it's actually too shallow for my Owala bottle that I've got right now, but it'll still work for your standard size plastic water bottles. And the passport pocket, I actually don't recommend using for your passport. If you want to keep some small items in there to access quickly, that's cool, it'll work for that. But as an ex-flight attendant, I highly recommend keeping your passport and your boarding ticket in your pocket or your personal item like a backpack at all times. Because you genuinely never know when you might be forced to gate check your bag, even just due to overhead capacity. And your passport is not something you want in the cargo hold if you have any sort of layover or issues. But inside the bag, things start to look a little better. Like most hard shells, Mous is using both sides for storage. And altogether, the inside has 36 liters of space, which is just a little bit smaller than I prefer since I often travel for a month or more at a time. But it is industry standard for carry-on bags like this, and we can make it work. I'll show you how in just a minute. So inside the bag, the left side is the deeper of the two. This is probably where I'd keep some souvenirs, a couple of bottles of sake, shoes, a jacket, that sort of stuff. And this side can be zipped up to help keep everything in place. Then you got some pockets here that can be kind of used to just organize or store some smaller things like cables, cards, or travel adapters. And in the middle, we've got another zipper pocket, which has a little hidden air tag compartment, which is just sort of a nice feature to have. Then on the other side of the bag, it's a little bit shallower because it houses the telescopic handle that I showed you earlier, which can seem annoying at first, but this actually happens in like all bags. You just don't usually see it because most bags have this sort of loose, messy liner hiding it, whereas Mous has this baked-in liner, which looks a lot cleaner and saves space. And since this is the shallower side, this is probably where I keep most of my clothes, just because those can be compressed really easily. The Mous bag also has a removable compression pad to help you squeeze more in if you need to, but honestly, I just took mine out because I've got a way better packing tip for you guys. So whether you're traveling for a week or 6 months, I always recommend the same thing. First, ask yourself if you're planning to do a lot of shopping where you're going. If the answer is no, cool. Pack 6 to 10 days worth of clothes, tops. Think about it. If you traveled for 2 full weeks and brought 8 pairs of shirts, 2 pairs of shorts, a pair of pants, 8 pairs of socks, and 8 pairs of man panties, you'd only need to do laundry 1 time to get through the full trip. And if you're traveling for like a month, all right, that's 3 laundry cycles. Even the cheapest hostels will usually have some option for you to do laundry. But what if I want to do a ton of shopping over there? In that case, you can go with a nearly empty bag, sort of like this, and buy new clothes while you're abroad. Or you can bring clothes that you're planning to phase out or donate anyway, and maybe you could wear them once and then donate them while you're there and replace that with new stuff to bring home. And if you're really gonna bring a ton of stuff home like I am about to in Japan, you can just stuff a small duffel or gym bag, maybe something like this inside your carry-on. That way you can fill them both up with treasures, and then on the way home, your carry-on becomes the checked bag and the gym bag becomes your carry-on. Easy. Nobody needs a full-sized bag. And I love you, but if I see you using one, I will judge you quickly and severely. So overall, as someone who's seen thousands of bags come and go, this is the first one in a while that's actually got me excited. I think the Mous carry-on looks extremely promising as a high quality, durable, maybe even buy it for life bag. It's a little bit on the smaller side for longer trips and doesn't have a laptop sleeve, but those issues are both largely solved by just bringing along a backpack, and savvy packers can definitely make this work. So if you're ready to pull the trigger, you can find the best deal down in the description below. Otherwise, I'm gonna put this bag through the ringer for 37 days in Japan. So if you wanna see how it actually holds up over time, you can check out this video right here. And if it fails me in any way, shape, or form, I will definitely let you know in that video.